Now, the festive season marked by Black Friday, Cyber Monday and Christmas shopping often leads to a surge in cyber threats, resulting in a significant shift in online consumer behavior. Professor in the School of IT at Nelson Mandela University and Director of Centre for Research in Information and Cyber Security, Professor Kerry-Lynn Thomson, joins us to expand on the conversation on the types of threats from cyber criminals over the holiday season. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, we're just a few days away from all the big events, right? Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas shopping. Cyber threats will intensify. What are some of the notable trends during such a season?
Good evening, Paul. Thank you so much for having me. Good evening to the viewers. Yes, just to highlight, I'm sure many people are aware cyber criminals they don't take a break. They are active throughout the year, but very much for consumers like you and me, this is a very, very active time for cyber criminals, in particular social engineers. Now, social engineers are those cyber criminals who focus on people, not necessarily the technical hacking that is done, but they try and scam us through spinning stories and using threats like phishing. I'm sure many of your viewers have heard of that, phishing with a PH, a very, very widespread attack and threat that is out there. But very much in this season, if you have access to email right now, you probably would have seen an increase in the last few weeks with those kind of emails that say you have a parcel waiting at a courier, and you just need to pay some money to release it, or you need to enter some personal information to get it released, or your Netflix subscription is about to expire, go in and pay the account. Those are definitely on the uptake. And then very much SMSs, WhatsApps, where it's called smishing. If it's on SMSs where there's links that are sent and there's a deal happening for Black Friday or Cyber Monday, click on this to get 50% off. And we've got to be so careful where we click, what we click, and to know that we can trust the person who is on the other end of that link. Vishing is another threat. Vishing is a form of phishing, which is voice phishing, and that seems to be on the increase as well. Something I'm very aware of, a few people that I know, including family members who have almost been scammed when, people phone and say they're from your bank and there's been fraudulent activity on your account and you just need to provide your username and your password or your CVV number and expiration date on your credit card. And meanwhile, it's not the bank. It's the social engineers phoning and pretending to be someone that they're not.
Yeah, that's quite frightening. What kind of approach should consumers be taking during such a time?
It's unfortunate to say, but in this very intense cyber threat scenario that we find ourselves in, I believe we need to adopt a zero trust mindset. Zero trust being that I'm not going to trust someone who phones me or who contacts me until I can verify that they say who they say that they are. So just because someone phones and says they're from the bank, I need to verify that. I need to perhaps put the phone down and phone my bank and say, did you just try and contact me? Is there fraudulent activity on my account? Can I trust this person who is contacting me? And the same applies for WhatsApp messages. Numbers can be spoofed, and next minute you have people that you know asking for money. So we really need to be vigilant and cautious and skeptical when these deals come in that seem to be too good to be true. They very often are, and really question these communications that we receive, and rather be safe than sorry at the end of the day.
How then does one protect themselves while online, while navigating some of the sites that are credible, or perhaps verifying that you are indeed on a credible version of the actual site?
Great question. That is something we've got to be very, very vigilant about. So if you make sure that if you receive an email or an SMS, that you don't follow those kind of links to a site. Let's say there's an advert for a particular clothing brand. Rather, you go and initiate type in the website to the particular clothing brand or shop online store that you would like to buy from. Make sure that any web address that you visit, it's spelled correctly. Make sure the correct security symbols are there, either a little lock or 2 lines with some circles. It shows that there's a secure connection between you and the valid vendor on the other side.
How do you think the prevalence of cyber incidents globally contributes to the ever-increasing cybersecurity concerns here at home? I mean, we know, for one, that well-known and established organizations like Microsoft, for one, have also fallen victim.
Absolutely. Not so many years ago, Twitter, when X was still Twitter, they were hacked as well, and legitimate accounts were used to scam a lot of people. So it's very much a concern, and particularly when you look at the stats for South Africa, about 75% of our population is online through mobile devices primarily. And the global average of the amount of time people spend online is sitting at 6 or 7 hours that we're spending online per day. In South Africa, we're leading the trend. We're sitting at about 9.5 hours that we're spending on average per person per day online, which is a huge amount of time. And we need to be aware that when we're online, we are at risk, and we need to be vigilant and watching what the trends are and what's going on. And things like artificial intelligence and AI is, unfortunately, it's a great tool to use, but it is being used by cyber criminals as well for things like deep fakes and fake videos and misinformation that's out there. And it makes it a very complex environment that we're in when we go online.
Yeah. What about, verifying details online? If you have to put in, your bank details, for instance, I mean, what should you be looking out for to ensure there is legitimacy of some sort?
Well, absolutely making sure anytime you need to enter banking details, personal details, usernames or passwords, make sure you are on the proper site. So make sure you are on your official banking site with no misspellings in the URL at the top. And make sure that there are the security symbols in the top of the browser. Next to the URL, there'll be a lock, or as I mentioned, the 2 lines with the circles, which indicate that you are on a secure connection. And if you know this is the correct URL that you've initiated, and that you'll be able to enter your credentials there.
Very well. Thank you so much for talking to us this evening, leaving the conversation there with Professor Kerry-Lynn Thomson, who is a professor in the School of IT at the Nelson Mandela University and Director of Center for Research in Information and Cyber Security.